Hey, what's up, guys? So I'm here in Ogdensburg, New York, and I've been wanting to shoot this video for a lot of reasons, for over a week now, a couple weeks now, ever since we got done at Champlain. And it's just one of those things that I feel like if you bass fish at all, there's a good chance that you've been down this road, or it's something that you do a little bit of soul searching to just try to see if this is really something that I'm supposed to be doing. So I just want to kind of recap my year that I had on the pro circuit. All things considered, really good year. Best finish that I ever had. Ended up in 19th overall in the points. And actually only 51 points shy of qualifying for the Bass Pro Tour. And so, I was really blessed to do that. And so you got to be wondering, why did I create this video, with the title of, should I quit bass fishing, or should I even question that I'm, doing the right thing after, your best year ever. But honestly, whether it's fishing or your current career or other decisions in your life, you really should kind of take maybe not a daily, but every so often, kind of analyze where you're at and if you're really doing what you're doing for the right things. Like I said, whether it's fishing or for the right reasons is what I meant to say. Whether it's fishing or your job, or just the daily decisions that you find yourself doing, your hobbies and things like that. Are you where you're supposed to be? Is kind of what I'm getting at. But really, I don't know that I necessarily made this video for myself more than maybe some up-and-coming guys, some guys that have found themselves in maybe the same situation or similar situation that I have multiple times in the past. And so what I'm getting at is this. You're going to have bad days in fishing, and if you don't fish necessarily on a regular basis, there are just gonna be days that it just doesn't work out, that it's really tough, that the fish don't bite, things like that. But I can remember back when I was fishing BFLs and TBFs and things like that. I'd go out and I'd have a pretty successful day in practice. I'd have a couple good practice days when I got to practice. But maybe when the tournament rolled around, it would be tough, and I wouldn't do any good. And leave that thinking, man, what in the world? Like, am I really cut out for this? Am I really supposed to be doing this? And so you leave yourself with a lot of questions. And I think there's probably some young guys out there, especially some high schoolers, that are thinking, am I really supposed to keep doing this? Is this something that that I want to do for a long-term thing? Not even considering whether it's professional fishing, but if you want to continue into, say, the TBF and the BFLs and eventually the Toyota Series and the Pro Circuit, is it a dream that you really want to chase? And so just getting back to the bad days aspect. So you think about these days, and so I fished, I think what I looked at is I fished 18 total tournament days this year on the pro circuit. That's the few cuts that I made, and then just the 2-day tournaments. And so out of those 18 days, somebody might check me on this if it's exactly accurate or not, but I'm pretty sure. But out of those 18 days, I had 3 bad days. Okay. And so at the end of the year, yes, that looks really good on paper, right? That looks great. 3 bad days out of 18 looks really good. And honestly, I kind of did some calculations. Let that guy get by. So I'm sure that was loud. But out of those 3 days, out of those 18 days, 3 of them were bad days. And I did some calculations, and I thought, I figured up that had I not had those bad days, had I had just average days like I did the day before, and it wasn't like I didn't have any just disastrous tournaments. There goes another one. I didn't have any just disastrous tournaments, thankfully. I didn't have any, finishes in the hundreds, but I had 2 in the 90s. And that was because of one bad day on Harris Chain, and on Pickwick, and on Gunnersville. And honestly, Harris Chain, Pickwick, and Gunnersville were probably the ones that I thought were going to be my strongest tournaments. And you might relate to that in a way. You might relate to, you know, if you go into Dardanelle, for you local guys that may be watching this, Arkansas guys especially, you're going to Dardanelle, it's your home pond, you really feel good about it. You're excited, and you go out there, have some good practice, but in tournament it's kind of a disaster, whether it's a BFL or whatever it is. You don't catch them, and so you're down, you're discouraged about it. Should I continue to do this? Well, let me just go back and just talk about kind of the math of what these days look like. And so for me personally, on tour, I haven't had just stellar practices. I haven't had just awesome practices where I'm like, okay, I'm on them, I'm fixing to catch them really good. And so you could say, even though I've had some really good finishes, it doesn't necessarily mean I've had really good days on the water, you know, time and time again. And so you could even go back and go back to that math and say, well, you know, maybe you had half good days, okay, which would be a really good number for me. You know, I had half good days where you really caught a lot of fish and you really got on them good. And I'm including practice days. So let's say, you know, we have 2 days of practice, normally a 2-day tournament. So let's say out of 36 days of fishing, you know, I had half of those, you know, 10 to 18, somewhere around in there, you know, a dozen to 18 really good days, you know, where I caught them. Well, take that math and transition that back into what you do and what you guys do on a regular basis, you know, fishing BFLs or fishing high school tournaments. Fishing BFLs, you know, if you guys are working, have another job, more than likely you maybe get 1 good day of practice, maybe 2 if you're really lucky. And so let's say you go out and practice and you have a really good day and you're excited and you're on fish, and then the tournament rolls around and dang, you didn't catch them. And so you get discouraged, and maybe you have 3 or 4 of those in a row. And you can get very, very discouraged very quickly. But what I'm telling you is, don't beat yourself up for that, right? Don't beat yourself up because, you know, you had 1 really good practice day and then the tournament didn't work out. Tournament experience is going to increase, or with the more tournaments that you fish, the better you're going to do, really, is what I'm trying to say, because you start making better decisions, you learn from your past mistakes. So you younger guys and the guys that are trying to make it in the BFL, like I said, I just wanted to encourage you, like, don't give up just because you have 3 or 4 or 5 or even a whole year necessarily of bad tournaments in a row. That doesn't necessarily mean you're not supposed to do this or you're not capable of doing this, because again, if I was lucky this year, I had, you know, like I said, you know, half a dozen to half a dozen or a dozen practice days that were good, and then, you know, 15 or so tournament days are good. So it's just one of those things where you want to strive, obviously, to not have any bad days. You know, that's the goal. And had I done that, that's what I was kind of getting at, had I done that this year, had I eliminated all my bad days and just had days on Harris Chain, Guntersville, and Pickwick, where I had the same first day as I did the second day, or second day as I did the first day, then I would have finished second in the AOI. And I know there's always the shoulda, coulda, woulda thing, you know, where you really, you know, you can't really do that because, you know, everybody's got the same thing. But really, I just eliminate 3 bad days and I finished second in Angler of the Year. I wouldn't have beat Michael Neal, but I would have beat everybody else. And again, I was only 51 points away from finishing and qualifying for the Bass Pro Tour. So overall, super successful year. But I could not let those 3 bad days get me down. And for you guys, even if you have had more bad days, if you've got, like I said, 4 or 5 tournaments in a row, doesn't mean that you're not cut out for this or that you can't do this. I promise you, if you continue to pursue it, if this is what you're supposed to be doing, if you're being, I want to say my main thing is being led by the Lord in everything that I do. If you know that this is something that you have a green light for when it comes to the Lord, then by all means go after it. And I want to encourage you, again, just because you've had bad days, just because, you know, your tournament season didn't look the way that it's supposed to, it does not mean that all hope is lost. You just want to eliminate those bad days, and they can be, man, you know, it can be one of those things where that could completely turn around your season. And, you know, because realistically, a lot of you guys may be fishing 5 to 10 tournaments a year, something like that, or bigger tournaments, I should say. man, if you could eliminate, just about all the bad days, which is obviously the goal. I know it's super, it sounds a lot easier said than done, but you'll get to a point where your bad days get less and less with the more tournament experience that you have. And so that's what I really wanted to do, is make this video and encourage you. Look, just because you had a bad season, just because you had a string of several bad tournaments in a row, does not mean that you're not cut out to, to be a tournament bass fishing guy. Just keep at it, keep practicing, spend as much time on the water as you can, because again, that's going to help your decision making. That's going to, help you going forward to be more successful. So no, I don't recommend people quit fishing just because they had a string of really bad tournaments. In fact, if you followed me at all throughout my career, I had 3 really, really tough years on tour, and those were years where I promise you it was in the back of my head, do I even need to keep doing this, because it's not working out, and so did a lot of soul searching and felt like it was something that I was supposed to keep doing. And so anyways, not with much power of my own, but with the power of the Lord, I guess, continue to do so, kept going, kept doing what I knew how to do. And you can kind of look over the last 3 years that it's been very successful. It's not been, just knock it out of the park type years, but I've had very good years, enough to provide for my family and to stay out here. And going into this championship, if I eliminate all my bad days, you never know, I could win this thing. So, hopefully it'll be a great week. But again, I just wanted to create this video and encourage some guys, some up and coming guys that probably have an even better start, or have a even better opportunity than I did. Just because you have a few bad days, just because you have a few tournaments that don't exactly go the way you're supposed to, and especially if practice went well, man, there's so many factors when it comes to a tournament. More boats on the water, game time decisions, getting in your head, a lot of those things that we may get into in videos going forward. But again, I just want to encourage you guys, just keep sticking it out. If you know this is what you're supposed to be doing, regardless of your finishes, keep doing it, keep doing what you're doing, and spending that time on the water, eliminating bad days. That's the thing. Get rid of those bad days if you at all possibly can. Stay mentally, like Swindle says, positive mental attitude is a big thing in fishing. Confidence is key. And so again, I just want to encourage you guys, if you like this video, share it with somebody, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try to start doing more of these. I know I've said that for every single year, but I really am trying to get there. So love you guys. We'll see you next time.